Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trek Talk with Tech and Kirk. I'm TechMan16. This is going to be a fun one today. We're going to have IMM and MBD hug it out. That's right. Everybody's going to hug it out together. So today, let's introduce some of the audience members. Handy, welcome back. How you doing?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Chef, how are you?
Mushy mushy.
Great. Awesome. Raptor?
What's up?
All right, guys. Thanks for joining me today. And from the IMM side, we have Seventh Samurai. Seventh, how you doing?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me, Tech.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Welcome to the show. You haven't been on here before, so I'm glad you could make it. And our returning champions from MBD, we got both Epi and Medic. How you guys doing?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, Tech? What's up, guys? Thanks for having us back again.
Awesome. All right, you guys ready?
Born ready.
Born ready. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event this evening. The following contest is scheduled for one fall, with no time limit. Introducing first, from Team IMM, weighing at a combined weight of 6.7 million, it's Seventh Samurai. And representing MBD with a combined power level of 53 million, it's Medic and EpiTheUnderBoss. All right, gentlemen, I want a good, clean fight. One thing: do not talk over one another. You will get all your hits and all your punches in, and then you will come together and you'll kumbaya like we all want you to. So, let's start with the fact that Epi was on the show last time, and he talked about his points of view about how this conflict started and how it progressed, and how talks came about, and then they broke down. I want an uninterrupted session with Seventh Samurai. I want you to explain, how do you think that this whole situation started with IMM and MBD? What kind of information were you privy to in terms of the negotiations that went on? And then where do things stand today with you right now? So feel free to take the floor.
Yeah, so we don't really get into, just as a little background, we don't get into too much warring, per se, quote unquote warring on STFC. I think IMM has been around, it'll be 3 years this year. So we got a lot of OG players on our team, kind of doing it up. But yeah, we don't get into it too often. So the way it started for us with MBD was kind of, I think, fairly quietly, innocently. Like in December, there was a dry hit by one of our members, and something came about it. But I think it was squashed pretty quickly. It was either between, I know Medic and Dan communicated, but I think it was maybe squashed by one of our guys, Aleem, and if I recall, it was Aleem and maybe one of your Commodores separately. And that was kind of like the beginning, but it was squashed pretty quietly. And then another incident came up, I believe, in January, I think January 9th. One of our guys, Slapscott, he was hitting somebody OPL. I believe it was ZCAP or ZCPN, one of your guys. And I think that's where it really started. I think there was some dispute about, well, I know there's a dispute about whether it was a dry hit, OPL hit, some back and forth. And I think in the beginning it was very dry. I think fairly respectable in the beginning. And then there was some dispute about the images or screenshots provided. And then it got kind of ugly after that. And I think for us, what happened was, at the time in real life, our admiral, Get Her Done, he had 2 family members die in the same week. At the time, he was doing cross state cross country drive with his family to get to one of the few. And it was just really poor timing for him specifically, and the place that he was going, the house that he was going to, there was no cell service. Like if you wanted to get online, he actually had to drive into town to do that. So I think for us, that was a frustration because there was some real life issues that our admiral was dealing with. You know, he's kind of the point person for all of this. Normally, I think what happened was Kem, our vice admiral, was trying to pick up the ball, and he was kind of at the time having real life, not real life issues, but everyone's busy. And I think him and Medic were working out for the most part. I think then what happened was a dispute about whether this screenshot that Slap sent over was doctored or photoshopped, and I think we got into a little bit, and then there was an ultimatum issued by MBD that we had to respond by. I think the conversation was brought up at 4:30, and then if it's not and then by 8:30 that night, I think Medic, you were there. You can probably speak to this from your side, but from our side, it was
that was on AZH Discord at the time that Azazel had set up for us to try to work it out.
Yeah, so I think by 8:30, you felt like you were slighted or being rebuffed or ignored.
Yeah, well, we were all, the guys at a funeral, and nobody explained that it was like going to be this whole, long-term thing. It was like at 4:30, he's like, "Hey, I'm at a funeral or whatever," and so we were like, "Oh, dude, sorry about that. Do what you, real life, whatever, do what you got to do." And then Kem was taken over. And then Kem, we felt like, because I was, sharing screenshots, everything over to our leadership channel as it progressed. And most of our leadership are probably on AZH, could follow it play by play anyway, but just so that we have a record of it. So I was sending over screenshots as it would progress. And of course everybody was like, "Oh, dude, the guy's got a funeral. He's, let him. He's got to handle real life first. Of course, no problem."
And I think Kem tried to explain that let's give Getter done a few days because he's dealing with a lot of real heavy stuff in real life.
Well, right. Then he came out with, because for like an hour or two, Kem was kind of just doing nothing really. I mean, we really felt like he was just wasting our time. I forget the exact. I would have to go back to AZH Discord to look at it, and so we were like, we need to figure this out, because then all of a sudden he came back with like, "Hey, give it," but nobody told us like that he was on the road. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like all of a sudden, it went from give us an hour, give us 3 hours, give us 3 days. And it's like, bro, you're not kicking the can down the road any further. Like, it's a dry hit. It shouldn't be this hard for us to figure this out. You're the vice admiral. Let's just hammer this out, dude, And then, but we were waiting, we were waiting, we were giving it time. Then there was a raid in your guys' hive. And so we're sitting there, we're waiting for Get Her Done to get back to us. We're being told he's at a funeral and all this. He's got no time to discuss it or whatever. And then, we look and Bold is raiding your hive, and there's Get Her Done out there defending for like 20 or 30 minutes straight. And so I wait for it to get over, and I hit him on Discord again, like, "Hey, man, let's hammer this out." Now I'm thinking, afternoon funeral, it's over, he's home now, whatever. And he's still not answering me. Kem comes back like looking for a few days, and I'm send it back over to leadership, and we're like, "These guys are jerking us around." Like, where's Get Her Done's priorities that he can jump on and defend a raid for 30 minutes, but he just can't get back to us about something as simple as a dry hit.
Yeah, I think probably when he got back on, he was just checking in on a couple of things, maybe, and he got back in game. But I think at that point he was on for just a short little period of time. And I think what at that time he communicated to Kem his availability. Kem was trying to relay to you that he needs a couple of days because he's just like for Get Her Done at that time to get online. he had to drive in town, and I don't know where his mindset was, but he was in there for probably for a short period of time before he drive back to the house. So for us, normally, just so you guys have a perspective on how we handle the dry hitters, we don't tolerate dry hitters, I think, but we are of the mind to give people a chance. I think we're pretty patient as an alliance in general, and if it's continuous, then it escalates. So just from that perspective, I think the way it escalated so quickly for us, and from our perspective, a lot of real life stuff going on, I think for it to go to war over a single dry hit was
Well, but that's
excessive.
not. But that's not at all what it was, dude. This started out by in December we're raiding your hive. You said somebody dry hit us. No, multiple members came into our territory and cleared out every miner we had during the raid. For raiding a base, we had our entire territory dry hit and cleared out.
Oh, I gotcha. You're
I
talking
chatted
about.
with
You're
Daniel.
talking
I
about.
chatted.
I know what you're talking about. That's a separate incident. That was with in December. You're talking about. That's with the dog breath.
We're going back to around the same time, because this is all building. This is when it started to build. Now, considering that, I mean, I think we let you guys off real easy, coming in, wiping out our entire territory. And I chat with Daniel and somebody else chat with Aleem, and we're like, all right, listen, guys, there's a couple of players that didn't really get it. They've explained it to them. These guys sound cool. They said they're going to handle it. We're not going to have any more issues, And we had a couple other things going on where, then you guys started coming in, hitting BBs and zero nodes in our territory. And we're like, guys, you can't mine it anyway. And you're like, oh, yeah, you're right. We'll talk to them. And it's always, yeah, we'll talk to him, we'll handle it, we'll talk to him, we'll handle it. And then things just continue to happen. So by the time we came up to what you're talking about now, which is Slapscott's dry hit with the doctored screenshot, Photoshop screenshot, whatever you want to call it, which we asked you guys multiple times, like, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because I'm trying to scroll back here on AZH at the same time. Anyway, my point is that it is a culmination. So you're looking at it and saying, oh, it's one dry hit and we went to war over. And it's not. It's a culmination and a continuing escalation of hostilities from him against MBD.
Yeah, I would. I got you, Medic. I would disagree though, because speaking specifically to what you're talking about back in December, that's like December, I don't know, 17th or the 20th. That's a specific player, Dog Breath. I think the guys explained
It wasn't
to your
just
side.
dog breath.
Yeah, and it was Dog Breath and I think Depth Chef. Dog Breath and the dude. And what happened was they were on a raid. They got sensitive about what was going on. And the main culprit or the main person in the incident that you're talking about going into your TC to hit was the Dog Breath. And just, I don't know if you're fully aware of what happened with that was he apologized. He didn't know the deal. He is actually 11 years old at the time. So he's, even though his level is maybe 24, 25, or 26, he's a relative newbie and a kid. So we had a talking to with him. There were some other issues with how he was doing gameplay, and we actually kicked him.
And
we kicked him soon after that.
And then we turn around and look at your roster, and he's right back there again. So what did that accomplish?
No, he didn't come back to us till maybe a couple months later. This was after even the first.
This is now a couple. We're talking December. Now we're in April, so this is now a couple months later.
Yeah,
and
so
he was
he's
there.
Yeah, so he's back.
He was back. He was back shortly after the incident happened. This is what you guys always do. We're going to take care of it, or we're going to kick this person, or we're going to demote this person.
Medic. Guys, chill. All right, so I'm having an issue following the sequence of events here. So can we try to get a timeline of what were the major incidents and how they progressed? So I'm gonna play the dumb guy in the room here. So at first there was a dry hit one time, the first time. Then there was
it was multiple dry hits. We went in to raid. We were raiding in their hive. 2, 3, 4 of their guys, something like that, came into our territory, wiped out every miner we had at the time that we were raiding their hive because we were raiding one of their bases.
Okay, so you couldn't stop them from raiding the guys, so they went and retaliated by hitting all your miners in territory.
Right.
That's what started, say, the hostilities between everybody, right?
Well, I guess for MBD, but yeah, I'll just say from our perspective, yeah, for MBD, possibly it sounds like yes from Medic, like Medics. From our standpoint, we didn't know what happened. So with those two players that went into MBD's TC to dry hit, obviously came up in conversation, and we thought we squashed it because it was a raid in our hive. Two of our players got heated up about it. One of them was an 11-year-old, and they went and did that. We apologized for it, tried to make amends, and we squashed it. From our perspective, we squashed it because from our end, we're not a dry hitting alliance. We're not a super aggressive alliance. We're of you leave us alone, we leave you alone type of mindset. And if someone does wrong, we try to give them a chance. But if they show a pattern, then we take care of it. The real discipline or varying ways, or people get kicked, and we've kicked people for dry hitting. So I can understand Medic's perspective that is a culmination, but from our perspective, we squashed it at that time. It hasn't really ever come up since.
So, Seventh, I have a quick question. Do you feel like there's any grudges from your side? At that point, because it sounds like MBD at that point kind of felt like there was a bit of a grudge there, and like they had a little bit of an axe to grind. You know what I mean?
In January, you mean?
Yeah,
in January when the first war starts. So just for timeline for everyone's edification, first war starts around January 9th, right? So at that time, we didn't have any grudges on our side.
At the time, did you understand why you were at war?
Yeah, I think the main point of that, what happened on January 9th, was one of our guys hit an OPL data miner.
But that's not the reason.
But that's the reason. That's the dispute for that. It came about from there, and I think the discussion was about was it a dry hit or not. Our guy was saying it's OPL. Their guy said it was a dry hit, and we're trying to figure it out. At the time, we're just trying to hash it out.
Now, from my point of view, as somebody who's played a lot of this game, I have seen many times where from one person's game, they take a screenshot and it does not show anything in the box for resources like lost. And like where I'll get hit sometimes and my screen doesn't show that I lost any resources. Doesn't show that I was OPL, but the other person has a screenshot that shows that I was OPL. And it happens all the time. This game is glitchy and buggy as fuck.
Especially in data.
That wasn't this handy.
That's the truth, though. Yeah, that's the truth. But
yeah, that's happened many times.
Yeah. How do you know it wasn't this, though? How do you know it was a doctored image?
Well, because what he sent us was showing data inside the box that was looked like it was cut like triangular on a square image or vice versa, and then pasted in the box. So I compared it to a normal screenshot of that showing data in the box, and it was completely off. Let's see if I can find the screenshot. I can post it in the room. Everybody can look at it.
Yeah.
See if I can find that
in the podcast chat.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
But just another thing before we continue to move on. I mean, seventh feels like it was one OPL / not OPL hit that started the war. IM is treating it like every time there's an incident and we discuss it, it's done and over and start over from scratch. And normally that would be fine. I mean, we deal with this stuff all the time. It's a one-off thing. However, when it is a continual pattern of escalating aggression and every single week we are dealing, that's so So from their point of view, they're trying to, you know, or not, I don't want to say they're trying to say, but their point of view is, oh, it was only one dry hit that started the war. It's not. It's a culmination of things leading up over 3 or 4 weeks, and that was basically the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. I'm
Wait,
gonna go try
hold
to
on.
find that
Yeah,
screenshot, throw it back over
while
to
you look for
Seventh.
that, I'd have to completely disagree with culmination because the incident with the dog breath is December 17th. There are no incidents from since then until January 9th. There's nothing like there's no weekly hits. There's no weekly conversations
I
about
mean,
this
we're
or
talking
anything.
weeks later.
We're talking about
Two,
we talking about weeks later. So I think for us,
like 3 weeks,
exactly what
whatever.
exactly what you said, Medic, is like we thought of it as just a one-off. It's a glitchy game. It happens, or people got in dog breast situations. Someone got emotional. They're not mature. They don't know how to handle it, and we squashed it. And it was over. Yeah,
All
sure.
right, so Raptor, go ahead.
From my point of view, had something like that happen to us in Dark, yes, the first time we would just let it go. Second time, say 2 or 3 weeks later, happens again, we're gonna be a little bit more pissed because we're gonna rope it in to, well, they just did this not that long ago, and to be honest, in the game, 3 weeks is not that much time to pass.
No, you're right. It isn't, and I agree with
Yeah,
you. And we've
and but
reacted the same to similar situations.
I
So
agree with
that's
you, Raptor. You
why
look
we're
at it a little
saying it seventh. Is
sideways.
you gotta look at it like this, buddy. Like from your guys' point of view, it's easy to forget about stuff, especially when you have a pretty good idea that one of your guys was wrong, but you still feel the need to defend him and to defend your team, and you kind of want to situation. But to the alliance that was wronged, it's a little bit harder to forgive and forget.
Medic, from your perspective,
Yeah, but
were there any more incidents between the time frame that Seventh mentioned? It was the retaliation of a raid in your TC area, and then it was this sort of doctored image
no.
dry hit. Was
In between, we had him coming in, hitting BBs that were mining ISO, clearing 0 nodes, and saying, "Oh well, it's row," and we're like, "Well, but you can't mine it anyway." And then when we talked to Gitter or Chem, it was, "Oh yeah, we're going to take care of it." It wasn't even like a dispute, like it wasn't even like it wasn't saying, "Well, it's row, they can do it." They were like, "No, yeah, you're right, we'll take care of it."
That is straight up trolling.
Seventh, is that true? That you guys were going into their territory, clearing off body
No,
bays,
no,
and
not in that timeline. Maybe later on after things got heated, but not in that time. So it wasn't a culmination of that. There was an incident of that happening with the dog breath and one other guy. But since then, we never. I mean, like Medic said, and I think everyone says, like they're saying, there's no point for us to clear zeros in TC. So we're not doing that. It doesn't make sense to us, and we're not doing it either. So
Hang on, seventh, real quick. Since I was the guy who negotiated, so I can talk to this. I have it in writing from Chem and get it. When I addressed them and said, "Hey guys, listen, I'm not sure if you guys understand. I'm not sure why this keeps happening. This is the second time Slap has come to our area to clear out our nodes. Can't mine it. You can't do it." I have it from them in writing, stating that we'll tell the guys, we apologize, and we let it slide. We didn't even retaliate
Now,
like
when
we
was
could have.
that?
yeah, that's in
I
January.
have it. It's in January, correct? It's January 11th, 2 days after. 2 days.
Yeah, that's that's the incident I'm talking about. Is where we
But
thought
that was
it
after
was
you guys went to war, or no?
No, this is leading up to war. This is again culmination. It is the right word because this is 3 incidents in a very short amount of.
Yeah, I agree.
all right. So let's. I'm getting this together. So the first one was guys were emotional over a raid, so they cleared out MBD's TC area. Then there was an incident with maybe not OPL data mining. And then 2 days after, it was clearing Bonnie bays and 0 nodes in MBD's TC area. And that, because it happened in such a short time frame, that's what led to the eventual, flag declaration, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah, and I would.
Yes, I just was following that. I'm trying to catch up with the. I'm bouncing. I'm sorry, guys. I'm bouncing between AZH and Server 34, trying to catch up on everything. But that looks accurate, definitely.
Correct.
Yeah, I
And
would
just to
just. No, I would say that my dispute is what I understand what you guys are saying. It gets all mishmashed up, and what I just want to clarify is January 9th is when Slapscott incident happened, and then a couple of days later, we're still into it with conversations. A medic, you were in that conversation, and that's when it ramps up. Like that January 11th conversation you're having is referring directly back to January 9th. There is no conversation at that time you're having about the dog breath incident in December. Like, I understand your perspective, but for us, December was a one-off. We had to do discipline.
Bro, dry hitting an entire multiple territories is not a one-off. Like that's a
Yeah, but
big
you're
deal.
talking
And we were
about,
like,
we're,
cool. It's
yeah, but we're
okay.
talking about,
Diplomacy. These guys seem cool. Hey, listen, bro, please don't cut me off. I'm trying not to cut you off. Don't do it to me. That's a huge deal. And for us to just be like, hey, you know what? They said they're sorry. They're handling it. Give them a pass. Let it go. I mean, you guys just think, oh, that was a one-off. That it's your perception of things is not the same as the perception of like 99% of the server, and I think that's where a lot of these issues also are stemming from, and why we can never seem to see eye to eye on things. Go ahead.
If that
Sorry.
were to happen to a Dark, we would have been burning your whole Hive alliance down
Right.
until everybody quit.
well, you got to understand also beyond just all of this is they're in our hive as well. Rating for us, it didn't matter because, well, it matters, but it doesn't. It's not a big point for us. Is they're rating our hive, pretty consistently, but it's shield or share, right? So it doesn't relate to this, but people get emotional and it builds up and things happen. And you're talking about an 11-year-old kid going to your seat to take out minors, lessons
I,
to be learned. And
the
we booted
lesson
him.
is you need to boot the 11-year-old and never let him back in. That's the lesson.
You got a kid trying to play an adult game.
Well, let's be honest, we're average age is older here, but we have guys we have players in our team and they have kids who want to join in, and we don't look down upon that. We encourage that. It's a cool thing to do. And I think for the most part, the game's fairly respectful in conversations. And so I think even as a dad, I think it's kind of cool that you can have a game like that where you can play with kids. So just to characterize it as a kids game or adults game, I think it's for everybody to play. I think if we can encourage kids to play with their dads, I think that's only a big plus. So yeah, I think whoever plays it, they want to play it, right? We have a kid who wants to play with their dad. We try to, but we gotta do a little bit of education there. That's all.
Well, Seven, let me ask you this. Just, but before we get to the booting and the letting back in, because I know that was another sticking point with MBD, but would you agree that when you have multiple incidents with the same alliance over a short period of time, would you agree that the one or both alliances are going to take that more personally as an aggregation as opposed to an individual event every time?
Sure, sure. We would take it. We would look at it sideways too. There'd be heightened awareness, for sure.
All right, so I think that's what Medic and Epi are trying to communicate with you, is that like you guys have had multiple incidents with each other in a very short period of time, and they took that, they being MBD, took that as, okay, this alliance is trying to play with us. And there's no way of seemingly communicating with them to say, stop it, so we're going to do what we do best, and that is just beat the crap out of you. Does that make sense? Does that seem like a fair assessment to you?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think probably one of the issues is the way MBD from their conversations with today, Epi and Medic are talking about is really very similar to what our attitude is. And I think what happens is sometimes you get two similar people or two similar groups of people with the same kind of attitude and approaches to things. And what happens is if those two similar people with the same outlook get accused of being what they're not, I think it draws up more blood, bad blood, and raises the blood pressure a little bit, and people get emotional. So I totally understand that perspective. I think we look very similar to those types of situations as well. So I appreciate their outlook, and I think I can see it very clearly from their perspective because that's the way we look at things, like very, very similarly.
Now, can I just assume that during these events, that MBD has players that are now shifting their focus to IMM? They may be being civil and they may be keeping it row, but is it safe to say that during this time, MBD is shifting their focus to IMM and probably targeting their bases more, looking for more OPL, etc.? I'm pretty sure that it's safe to say, right?
Yeah, that's very safe to say from our end. There's a lot more concentration on Hive in terms of
So
attacks.
they may be more powerful, older, more mature, but they're figuring out their ways to get back at you within row without breaking their rules. Now, Medic and Epi, I'm sure you can agree that you definitely had players at the time that were pushing buttons, right?
I don't think so because our road really doesn't allow for quote unquote dick moves. I think
I'm not
yeah,
talking
base
about dick
rates
moves. I'm
probably
just
base
talking
rates
about
probably.
normal play. But
Yeah, you're
during
just talking about normal
normal
play. I
play,
got you.
Oh, okay.
if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
focusing on a
Yeah, I
particular
see what.
alliance, they're gonna feel it, especially
I'm sorry, I
from
see what you're
an
saying. Yes.
active, powerful alliance like yours. They're gonna feel it. IMM's definitely gonna feel the heat, and it's pretty safe to say that they were feeling it, which is gonna make them put them on the defensive. They're on the back foot. They're feeling the heat. You've got an 11-year-old kid. You've got some other players that maybe emotionally are 11 years old, and they're wanting to hit back. So, I mean, that shit happens. It's normal. I don't think IMM as a whole did anything wrong. I mean, I understand they broke row and whatnot, and you have some bad decisions, but everybody does that. So let's move on. I think we can all agree that forgive, forget, move on.
Well, I just want to chime in. So we did, and just example.
I know you did. I mean, I was part of the conversation, and I know that you were extremely civil, Epi, and went way beyond to try and resolve the issues and make peace.
So, Epi, go ahead. You can respond, and then I want you to talk about when you guys first declared war. How did you try to resolve it, or was it resolved?
I appreciate that. So just to give a timeline, I really jumped in at that moment when we were at war and tried to reach out. And one thing I love about MBD is we vote on everything as a group, and it's unanimous. So it's not like, oh, he said, she said. So on January 11th, I reached out to Kem because Get It was still not available. And I said, okay, we voted. We're going to give you guys a 12-hour ceasefire that ends at midnight tonight. Please make sure your crew knows, and I will spread the word. If for some reason someone hits us, please just have them PM and let them know there's a ceasefire. Kem came up, said thank you. I'll make sure everybody knows. We will run reminders periodically, so and so. So it was good. And this was all about going back to Slap. We're just like, look, it's the second time. You guys said you talked to him. Didn't happen. And then Kem was like, hey, here, I have it right here. In regards to his second or third incident, we voted we won't kick Slap. We have talked about it and talked to him. He has no recollection about December's hit. He hasn't provided any screenshots of it, but probably doesn't have one after a month. His story's been pretty consistent with us, but we feel there's no reason to kick him. And then it was like, same old, same old. And the reason I bring this up is we have given ceasefires, we've given opportunities, and then it brings us to the most recent, which is really what I want to talk about, just because it's more relevant. It's where I got to really get to know Get It as well as Handy, where, again, with Sharky's wife's passing, we did the whole thing. We gave the ceasefire 24 hours. By that time, and this is the part that kind of contradicts you, Seventh, and I don't think it contradicts you. I just want you to understand that what you say and what we do, it seems to always be the issue with him as a collective alliance. Meaning, by this time, Daniel had dropped tags. A couple guys had dropped tags. Most of the comms actually had done that. Not all, but most. And started dry hitting. And would be in the same systems as M and all those things. And when we called this ceasefire and I got Handy involved, and Handy reached out to me, Handy reached out to me because somebody from M had reached out to him. We were nice enough, and believe me, I got a lot of shit. I mean, a lot of shit from everybody, because this is the second ceasefire, second to third agreement I've given, and it just seems to be like you guys just don't care or don't want to ever honor these things. We were nice enough to let Daniel and a bunch of the guys who were dry hitting drop taggers come back into the alliance. We're willing to forgive them completely. Everybody. Water under the bridge. This is what me and Handy had negotiated with Get It for it felt like a week. All right. We did all that. And then we find out, your guys don't like the fact that some of you guys who dropped tags had to be demoted for 90 days. So I'm going to ask this to you, Seventh, because I really want to hear your perspective. If somebody's dropping tags and dry hitting outside of your alliance and bringing others to do it, do you feel that they should be not punished at all? There should be no punishment for them if they're allowed back in.
And look at it as if it's happening to you.
Yes.
Hold on. Yeah, sorry, I was unmuting. No, I think for the question is, Epi, I appreciate all the dialogue and efforts, and being now I'm the diplomacy commodore for our events. I'm happy to engage with you at any point in time for any reason, and for anybody in general, because I think for our leadership, we just need a little better focus on, communicating with other alliances, because Get Her Done's busy in real life and he has to deal with a lot of stuff right now. So I appreciate that very much to start off. And I would say for what you're talking about, I think this is kind of more of the root of the dispute and the quote unquote war that's going on is there's a misunderstanding of how things culminate, what our intentions are, and what our perspectives are on incidents. So I appreciate you reaching out. I hope we can do that as well. But we're not violating. We're not trying to violate any alliance, and we're not the alliance to go out here and stir up stuff. I don't think we've been that alliance for many years. I think some of the OGs can speak to that, but IMM doesn't have that reputation in the galaxy, and we never have, and we're not looking to fight. But if the fight comes, obviously we're up for it, but we don't seek it out, and we're not the aggressor. So
I don't agree with that.
I think the characterization of
I don't think that's the question, though. The question was, how do you feel about people dropping tags and dry hitting, if they should be punished or not?
Well, yeah, I think if they're dry hitting, like I said before, we punish dry hitters. I think we look at it similarly to most people, including what Epi and Medic are talking about. We look at it very similarly. I think what I think Epi was talking about is mischaracterization. Like, not to dispute you, Epi, but you're saying most of our commodores drop tags to hit, which is untrue. We had one guy, Daniel, he left without notifying us, and because he disagreed with us making peace the first time around, and he made up his own alliance. And then
That was actually the second time.
there was a lot that culminated up to where one Commodore dropped tags. This was, I think, right before the second war started, because he was getting trolled. His warships were getting, while they're being active warships, by multiple times by Mud. So he, like, the stream of trolling kept coming, and he dropped tags.
So here's where the communication comes in, and I would encourage you guys at IMM, when things like this happen, and especially if you feel justified in your actions, that you need to communicate that. You need to say, hey, you need to document it and communicate it. So you need to reach out to Epi and say, hey, Mud's doing this. Mud's an asshole, because he definitely is, but that's okay. We love him anyways. And and you need to just say, hey, look, I'm being trolled. I got to do something about it. I'm going to drop tags, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But mainly our point is you need to not drop tags. Like, if you're getting trolled or whatever you're doing, or whatever is happening to you, you stay in your alliance. You don't drop tags, especially if you have intention of going back, right? So if you're going to drop tags, you should drop tags and never come back to IMM. You know what I mean? You guys need to understand that. Either handle it as an alliance or don't handle it at all, is the main thing we're trying to get at.
If I can just clarify what he's referring to as well. So that door was opened by IMM when Chemsol, I think, maybe Daniel,
was
but I
Chem.
think it was Chemsol. Okay.
It was Chem.
Yeah, Chemsol hit one of our active warships days, I think, after we had ended the war with
Made
them.
peace.
Right. And so he hit one of our active Franklin. So he opened the door, and when we contacted them and said, "Hey guys, this just happened," they were like, "Well, it's Roe," and I think Epi was the one that had talked to them about it, and
Yep.
and it was
Exactly.
like, well, if you guys are if that's the way you guys are gonna play, then that's the way we're gonna play. So we started playing that way also, to within server Row, as in regards to IMM. And then all of a
Only
sudden,
IMM.
now these dick moves all of a sudden mattered to them, but they wouldn't stop others from doing the same thing. So it's kind of like I mean, I hate the saying, because I don't think it makes any sense, but in a way, they want their cake and they want to eat it too.
Well,
But
I don't
I'm
think
kind of
it's
curious to see
hang
the.
on, guys. I don't think it's necessarily that. I think what's really happening is a big time lack of communication inside IMM. So when these things happen, nobody else hears about it. So
right.
these things happen, they don't tell each other, and then of course when your guys react, because you communicate with each other, you guys react and they don't understand what's going on or why they're getting hit in active zones. They're out grinding and they don't understand why they're getting hit, because maybe they don't read their AC, or maybe they don't read their Discord. I don't know. I'm speculating, but I can hazard a guess that based on my dealings with IMM is that there's a lack of communication.
And I hate to say it, but there's a lack of leadership, and this isn't anything pointing dirt or throwing dirt to get it, but I'm sorry. Just on what had happened in the agreements, in the funnel agreement that me and Handy had put together with your admiral, the problem you guys have, and I'm not trying to use your words against you, Seventh, and believe me, I'm not taking this personal, I'm just talking to you, is you said to me, if somebody's dry hitting, you guys will handle it and boot it. The problem is nobody over there either has the balls or is being honest to get rid of your bad apples.
And I
Daniel,
can second that. Absolutely. I've experienced the same thing. I
sorry,
get it. He's a
yeah,
great guy, but
yep.
he's unwilling sometimes to make the hard decision and just boot somebody that's causing issues for the alliance. If you don't have your alliance's best interests at heart, something has to be done. And nobody over there is doing anything about it.
And the problem is the leadership at that time, and the problem I have, Seventh, is the leadership at that time. Kem was the only other one who would really speak up and get its absence. And I'm sorry, Kem does not have your best intentions at heart, because why would you, as a Commodore, this is what I don't understand. If you really care about your alliance and you don't want them in war, and you don't want to keep losing members due to this war, whatever side it's on, right or wrong, an agreement was made. Your admiral, who leads you, decided it was the best thing for everyone. And we got a great relationship out of it. I respect Get It because of the conversations we had with Handy. Why would you pull a dick move and purposely go after an active Franklin in swarm space with a non-Franklin and just say, oh, it's Roe? Unless you're just a dick and you don't care about your alliance and you're wanting to start shit up again. And this is what Get It could never understand with why some of the guys were doing what he was. Get It even confided in us in stating that he was this close to quitting because he was tired of people undermining him, not doing what was best for the alliance. Because you guys, correct, have been around a long time, just like us. You've probably been around a year longer than us. But he could not understand why your Commodore would do that. So now that left Ailes. Ailes was the one guy, only because Seventh, I haven't talked to you or spoken with you prior to all this, who had earned respect among not just us, his leadership at MBD, but amongst the players because of how he played. He was very good at what he did. He's like Mud with the hunting, and like
Sorry,
Sal and all these guys.
just to clarify, Ailes is which player? We don't have it.
Yeah,
Are we talking about Aleem?
Aleem.
Aleem.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Aleem. I apologize. I got Ailes from Chef. That's his fault. But no, Aleem.
All right, go ahead.
Great
Go ahead.
guy. Yeah, no, great guy. Very respectful. Always calls me sir. Makes me feel old, but whatever. So out of the agreement that your admiral agreed to, all he said was all the Commodores had to be knocked down to agents for 90 days. After 90 days, you guys could do whatever the hell you want. You want to bring everybody up? You want to switch it up? Nobody cares. The only one that could stay was Aleem, because he was respectful. He had a good head on his shoulders. He wasn't acting like Kem. And unfortunately, Get It, who would we prefer to work with, just wasn't around due to real life. And me, Handy, everybody understood that. And that was the agreement. So then every other day, and I said this last week, and I apologize, but I just want to be very clear here. And I want to make sure you understand the Seven, because again, this is where that communication, I think, is the breakdown. Whether it's not getting to you or what they're saying is bullshit and it's not what's happening. Because I have all the screenshots. I have every one of them with Handy and your admiral. Every other day. Oh, Kem's an admiral again. So I get my guys going, why is this guy? I thought the deal was he was 90 days. I'm like, hold on, don't get crazy. And they didn't. I reach out to Get It in the thing with Handy. Hey, what's up with this? Why is this guy Kem? And then, your admiral would be like, what the fuck? He literally would be like, what the hell? Let me find out. Let me talk to him. Okay, boom. I just put him back down. Thank you for handling it. Moving on. 2 hours later, swear to God, can't even make this up, Seven. 2 hours later, he's a comm again. Your admiral says, I just booted him. I didn't boot him. I just demoted him 2 hours ago. I don't know who keeps bringing him back up. Okay, this is your camp. These are your guys doing this to your admiral. So all it's doing is poking the bear. And the bear, MBD, we had every right to be like, you know what? These guys are just, they don't care. And we didn't. I mean, Christ. I mean, look at, I spent too much time with Handy and your admiral to hammer this out for a couple bad eggs to ruin it. And you know who won? The bad eggs. Because they did the same things. They pushed every button. And then the last straw for us was your admiral texts us and goes, hey, I just kind of chewed my guys out, trying to figure out why Kem and these guys keep getting promoted again, or who left and who didn't leave. And I got outvoted. An admiral should never say I got outvoted on an agreement. And I'm like, what do you mean agreement? You're not talking about the peace agreement because you've already agreed to that. IMM has agreed to that already. So what vote? Well, these guys decided that they didn't like the agreement. So now what are we supposed to do, Seven? What are we supposed to do?
Well, I understand. I'm hearing you, Epi, and it sounds frustrating. I understand. I think what you're talking about is for the third, to end the second war, right? The second conflict.
Oh, I'm talking about right now. This is what
right now.
started this one.
Yeah,
This is
that
right
was
now.
that was the end of the last. I mean, we're up again now. We're calling it the third conflict right now, but to end the second conflict, that is, I know what you're talking about,
Yes.
and I appreciate what you're talking about. I'm hearing everything you're saying, but for us, it goes way back before then, because you're talking about why these guys are sticking to an agreement.
Well, we're not looking for excuses or
No, yeah,
bad
but we're
blood. I
saying
mean,
is, what I'm saying is, for us, it goes back to the first agreement to end the first conflict. Is after that happened, there was a lot of trolling from Mud and Handy. I get what you were talking about is it needs to be reported and claimed, and we were getting trolled a lot by Mud, and we were reporting it to MBD, and nothing was happening to Mud. So you can understand is like we're reporting it, but nothing's happening or it's not getting addressed.
Who did you report it to? Because no offense, I've been doing this whole thing since it started, and nobody said boo to me. And I have your screenshot from your admiral stating that if any of that happened, he would have brought it up to me and Handy, and it never came up once during the negotiations from the one prior.
Yeah, Epi, I'll send you the screenshots of Mud harassing us, harassing some of our players.
All right,
but you got to tell
Seventh,
somebody though. Nobody knew about it.
No,
right? And your admiral,
our guys
didn't say anything.
reported it. Yeah, our admiral, like we all know when we all talked about Get Her Done, he's been involved in real life, so our commodores have been communicating.
To who though? That's the problem. Your commodores.
To your side? Yeah, I'll send you the screen. I'll send you
if they're just communicating with Mud, I mean that's not going to go anywhere.
That's
right?
not going to go anywhere. You're just fueling the fire with Mud.
We found that out too. But I believe I'll send you the screenshots that it's been sent to. So that's just to say
I don't want to. I'm not even trying to.
Well, hold on. Let me just get my
thing.
say in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Tech. So thanks, Epi. I'm just saying is, I understand what you're saying for the last agreement. What for us is, we were involved in that second conflict because we were getting trolled. My guys got emotional, and it became what it became. The second conflict, we didn't want it. And what I'm saying is, we're constantly being pushed around. You know, you guys are top 10 alliance. We didn't really have a real formal incidents before this all started, and we're going, why is this top 10 alliance coming down the mountain and trying to dictate to what we're doing? You know, we're following server row. You have a dispute. Fine, we thought we quashed it, and they're coming back and they're pushing and trolling, high rating in stepped up manner. And we're like, you know, what are these guys doing? We don't know you guys. I'm sure a lot of you guys on your side are good, and I've spoken to some of your guys directly, and they all seem, decent guys. Like, I think most of the galaxy is. But, you know, you guys would come rolling down the hill, top 10 alliance, and we're like, why are these guys messing with us? We're following row. We thought we were doing upstanding thing.
But that's the whole thing we're trying to tell you is your leadership thought everything was going fine. You thought you were quashing things, but we're trying to tell you that it was not accomplished. It was not quashed. You did not take care of things.
Right. So let me lay it out for how.
But even if you want to keep going to the past stuff, which, look, if that's where you want to go and that's what you feel you need to do.
Yeah. So let me. I'm not trying to like regurgitate. What I'm saying is that happened. We thought we quashed it, and I understand what you guys are saying, that it comes in aggregate, and I agree with you. If someone's doing that to us, we look at it a little bit sideways in aggregate, and I agree with that. But that first war should have never happened. We had no time for our admiral to get a handle on it because of real life stuff. It shouldn't happen. And for us, it's a one dry hit issue with Slapscott, and it escalated very quickly. And for us, there never should have been a conflict to begin with.
Welcome to the big leagues.
Let's say, for example, that we all agree with you that it should have never started, and we all agree with you that it happened too quickly for you guys to react to. The MBD obviously is used to because they have the people in place to react to things quickly. It's just the norm for top 10 alliance to deal with things quickly because there's a lot more people online. So it's just a difference in perspective based on power level and activity and number of members. So there's a power disparity there. There's a responsibility disparity there, and you're not comparing apples to apples. We're comparing apples to oranges, and we all understand that.
To us big alliances, anything that takes longer than an hour for something simple as a dry hit to get squashed, you're dicking us around, and we're just going to go straight to war until our point's made.
Right, and that's not the right way to handle it.
The assumption there, we're not dicking anybody around in this situation. So to assume that, I understand why you assume it, but I think that assumption is correct, and that's where we diverge, I guess.
We also have people in place in leadership when somebody's not there to go to and to have it fixed. Like in Dark, I had a bunch of real life stuff going on. I was in the hospital. I was really sick. I immediately gave up my admiralship to one of my guys because I wasn't going to be there. If your admiral really has that much real life shit going on, he should probably think about temporarily giving up his spot to somebody that's going to be there and be active.
And which he said he would do, and he still hasn't.
Right. That was part of the next conversation.
That's actually why, out of all of this, that's why I'm...
Seventh, I want to kind of address what MBD said, that to squash your second conflict, you guys had an agreement where you would demote the people that dropped tags and dry hit. We had a ceasefire due to Sharky's wife's passing. They were let back in, and they were supposed to be agents, not promoted to any leadership positions for about 90 days. And yet somebody kept promoting them back to leadership positions, and that was the frustrating part on both sides. On both sides, where MBD was like, guys, we had an agreement, why aren't you following the agreement? And then on IMM side, Get Her Done was like, I don't know what's happening. He's lost control of his alliance, and yet the guys that were allowed back in are getting back to Commodores when they're not supposed to be, in order to squash this thing altogether. So
I would have demoted all my Commodores to fix that.
but again, Seventh, you're a Commodore. Do you know how? Do you know why these guys were promoted? And if Get Her Done relinquishes leadership, this is the big part, and gives it to one of the Commodores, will that Commodore, presumably one of the people that left to dry hit, would they take the reins and truly drive this conflict up as opposed to down?
Yeah, I think, that's a good question. To speak directly to that is, our understanding was from Get Her Done is MBD gave, appreciate the work that Epi and Henny did. Get Her Done came, because we voted on everything as a leadership in terms of Commodores, and they brought us MBD's proposal, or I would say, just from our perspective, nothing personal, but from our perspective, it was a demand for a ceasefire. And there's several points on there. And what was clearly stated in writing in that proposal was there is no negotiation. There's no room for changing any of this. You have to accept it, or you're going to be...
And that's true.
String KOS. So for Get Her Done, can speak directly to this, is he said we need to have 14 days to vote on it because we vote everything, and there was no on that. They would get that 14 days to look at it, like it or leave it. So
14 days.
Right there. 14 days.
That's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard that too. Because that's some.
Yeah. So for us, it's like we have 14 days to look at it, and I think for good faith, for 14 days, we actually followed all those terms that MBD gave out, which is stay out of TC for 90 days, no hitting. People got demoted that they were named. I think what were the other ones? We basically followed all the terms, including demotions, for those 14 days while we looked it over and discussed it, and we voted on it. So
Well, there was no. I think that's right. There's the problem.
we thought we're
But
following
see,
the protocols. So
your
I
no,
think
your admiral
just
didn't tell us that.
yeah, I
Let
think
Seventh talk. Hold on. Just let
Okay.
Seventh
yeah.
talk.
All right, all right.
So from our perspective is number one, we appreciate the work you did, Epi, but number one is what I'm saying. That is not a proposal, that's a demand when they're saying there's take it or leave it. And that doesn't seem in good faith. I know you spent a lot of time on it, but the tone is not right. For us, most of the items on it, we don't really have much of a problem with because we don't. I think war is pointless. There's no point in warring for reasons like this. We're all trying to play a game, and I think most of us are very similar in their mindsets of how they approach the game and what we like about the game. So there's no real point to the war for us. So we didn't. What I think the real sticking point from the demands from MBD was following their row. No, but if you tell somebody, hey, this is it, take it or leave it, and there's ultimatum, that's not a negotiation for an agreement. That's like take it or leave it.
Well,
This is a
well, hold on.
demand,
Yeah, but
right?
that's not true because if it was, listen, yeah, I understand where you feel like that, and that's because that means your admiral didn't convey it the right way because your admiral had some of those points put in, and he specifically said he was going to let you guys know that those were his points that got put in. An agreement can't be one-sided.
I have to second that. I was there. Go ahead, Epi.
Which
Sorry.
points specifically are you talking about? Because
Points that what we hashed out
the only
was
point we had problems with was the following MBD row in terms of warships, because
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That was only following MBD's row in regards to MBD,
correct.
right?
no, that was I believe that was for us to follow that specific point.
No, you just needed to follow MBD's row in regards to MBD. To the rest of the
Correct.
server, you can do whatever the F you want to do as far as your row.
Yep. Exactly.
Which is basically what every alliance is doing. If they know that one alliance has a specific rule, like us, we don't hit OPL data, so we expect everybody else to at least follow that with us.
Yeah, that's the thing that Raptor, I hear what you're saying. To be honest, we don't really hit OPL data in general. For our row, it dates back pretty far before the council and all that, and we're a little more closer to the server row where there is no protection. So what we do, so you guys know, is we recommend to not do these things, and we don't want these guys to do these things. But if you do it, be prepared for people to get pissed off and do what they want they need to do, and there'll be a conversation between leadership, and
But
we'll
that's
figure
the
it out
problem. You
that way.
guys, I'm sorry, and I'm getting frustrated now because it's a lot of. First of all, the agreement was agreed upon by your admiral, me, and Handy for a week. We worked that out. Okay, so this wasn't me and MBD saying take it or leave it or you're screwed. He agreed to all this, and he understood why. From the dry hits to people being demoted to all those things, and why Aleem could be stated as a Commodore, why he earned that respect and all that. The problem we had from day one, if you want to go back to the beginning, is that IMM does not, and I'm sorry, but again, I'm going to say it again, does not have the balls or the will or the leadership to handle their people. I'm sorry. You guys say that if people do something wrong, you're going to handle it, but y'all don't handle it. You guys never did. You never have. That's
But
been the
we
whole
handle
problem
it
with this.
maybe not the way you like us to handle it, but we kick people for dry hitting.
No, you didn't. You never have once.
We
Through
did.
this whole thing. Who, really? Because you let Daniel leave whenever he wanted and whenever he wanted to come back.
No, he
Anybody
did
who
not
did
come
that.
back. Hold on.
Yes, he twice.
Daniel did
Daniel came
not
back
come back
twice.
whenever he came back. He came back once because we were trying under the agreement, the last agreement that we're talking about. Under that agreement, people who had left IMM would be allowed
We
back
let you come back.
in
Correct.
within the 24 hours. If they didn't come
Right.
back inside those 24 hours, then they could never come back. Correct. So
That was the
that's
deal.
that was the agreement. That was the agreement that was in place. So what we did was we tried that. We said, "Listen, guys, do you want to come back?" They said yes, and we let them back. And
Yep.
while we're doing that, we're going over that in that 14 days.
But there's no 14 days. The agreement was the agreement. There was no 14 days to decide. That never ever was talked about
Yeah,
once.
and that was never relayed to us. Nobody said anything. This is the first we've heard about your 14 days, Seventh. This is the first we've heard
I
about
think
it.
that's probably definitely a miscommunication because then for our Commodores, for our leadership, we have 14 days to go over the agreement and to vote on it because
Now,
we do
if I
vote on
may
everything.
suggest, 14 days is way too long.
Okay. Well, I think that's what Get asked for. I don't know.
He never asked for that. Period. Never asked for that.
He
So
did
that's
not.
bullshit.
And as far as I know, Get told us that he was copying and pasting our entire conversation into your Discord,
Yeah.
or at least
Because
parts of it, relevant parts of it.
Yeah,
we did that for
I've
MBD.
I've reviewed the whole thing as a cut and paste that Get posted. Yeah.
And I don't know if it was all there or just the important bits, but I mean, you should have seen all the work and conversation that went into it. Obviously, there was a lot of our voice chats that weren't there. And I think that's where a lot of the miscommunication came in because we had a lot of voice chats. And I don't think that Get It was relaying the information from voice chats, which is unfortunate because that's where a lot of this got hashed out and where Get It voiced his concerns. And I can totally understand why IMM would feel like this was all prepared by MBD, because if you were only following the chat, that's how it would have looked. I totally agree with that. But we're just trying to tell you that it wasn't that way. And I'm sorry that Get It didn't tell you that because it wasn't one-sided. Get It had his concerns. He had his
Mm-hmm.
things that he worked into the agreement. Most of it was put forth by MBD because they're the more powerful alliance. They're the ones that are, typically going to win the war. I mean, for the most part, IMM can't do a ton about it because of the power disparity. And that's just kind of how war works. I mean, if America goes to war with some little country, I mean, who's going to win? I mean, we all know who's going to win. It's just kind of the way it is. It's just the way it works.
Yeah,
So,
in real life, sure.
I
It's
mean,
really
and you can draw a lot of parallels between real life and a game. I mean, but that's what this is based on, right? It's a war game, and we kind of base it off of our real life wars. I mean, that's what makes it entertaining.
Chef, is it a war game? All right, go ahead, Medic.
Yeah. So Seventh, I'm just kind of curious because you seem to have an issue with following MBD row as in regard to MBD and the agreement, the way that agreement was crafted. The idea behind it was to eliminate any potential situations that had occurred in the last 3 months that was driving the animosity between the two of our alliances. And one of them
Correct.
was you guys hitting active warships. And so then we did the same in return. And your guys, even though, I mean, I had PM with Buck when I did it and, explained to him exactly why. And I think I don't know if he just didn't get it or I have no idea. It didn't matter to him. He dropped tags and, started dry hitting us. And you're talking before about how your guys are getting aggravated. Like, why are my active warships being hunted and being hit? Why would you have an issue following MBD row with us that ensures that, I mean, that takes all that ass hattery off the table. I'm trying to understand why you have an issue with it.
Yeah, so I don't have an issue with it. I think what it gets sticky is we don't hit active warships. If they're floating there for whatever, they're inactive.
But Kim did.
They hit the floating ship. Well, see, that's where Medic, you and Kim disagree.
That's me. That's Epi. That's Epi, by the way.
Hey, Abby. So what Cam has talked about is he does this as a matter of form. This is one of his strategies in the game. Is he hits OPL floaters, and warships, and that's to get the FM, the frequency modulators. That's his strategy part of the game. It's not outside road. That's what he does. But he does not act. He does not hunt active warships. Like he's not. Whatever your disagreements are, from my perspective, Kem's
Right.
not a dick. He's
Wait,
trying to
wait,
hit.
wait.
So
Hold on.
that's
Let me interject here.
yeah.
All Medic is trying to get you to, or both of them, they're trying to get you to either agree or disagree with is if you have existing animosity as you do now with MBD, or just say with any other alliance, right? Limit the amount of potential contact points that could flare the relationship even further. And I believe, again, it seems to be there is a lack of communication between Get It and your comms on the deals that were being done. But the whole of that point was MBD says, just don't hit us, not to flare our emotions. I get what I get what you're saying, right? Chemsol's way is to get frequency modulators by hitting floating OPL warships. I mean, I've done it too, right? It's the most effective way to get your frequency modulators. But what they're saying is don't make a point of hitting an alliance that you're trying to be on better terms with. That's all they're
Correct.
trying to get you to say.
Exactly. Especially when we just did this peace agreement. God, bud.
Yeah, Epi, I totally agree with you. If when we have hostilities like this and it drags on, it's a situation where we can avoid. I'd be all for saying don't hit MBD floating or active or floating to avoid that, like Medic you said, ass hattery.
Right.
Just
And
to
that
avoid
was
that. But
agreed. And that was what
I
was agreed
totally agree
upon
with
by
it.
your admiral.
I understand. I totally agree with that. But you can see where is I think the problem is we agree as IMM with a lot of what MBD is talking about. The problem is the way it's being presented as an ultimatum and saying,
But it's not an ultimatum, brother.
but that's what it's written down as. It's like you got to
All
take
right,
it or
hold on.
leave it. There's no
Wait,
negotiation.
Seventh, hold on. I think again, this boils back down to a singular issue of communication. So I think so. If I may play devil's advocate here, what I'm hearing Seventh say is what happened was Get It and Handy and Epi, you guys put together a plan. There were some points that were presented, but for some reason, some way or another, none of those points got communicated to the rest of IMM that this was a collaborative effort between the two alliances, so that it's a collaborative agreement where everybody doesn't get everything that they want. They just get, some things that they want. But I think what was presented was IMM was to follow MBD ROE for everybody. And to me, I think that's what was lost in translation. It was like, look, just don't hit MBD in respect to MBD, not change your entire play style for everybody else.
Right.
And I
we wouldn't do that.
I think that is where maybe, if I were to venture a guess, that particular singular point wasn't necessarily communicated, and it was presented like, here's the agreement, you follow it, okay?
Right.
And that was it, right? It wasn't presented in a way like, okay, guys, Handy, Epi, and Get It spent 15 voice calls. We went over every single incident, every single screenshot, every single PM. We've clouded it all together, and we figured out a few ways that everybody wins and everybody loses in terms of how we can make peace with one another. And then we'll go on our separate ways. Here's a 90-day agreement. Let's just follow it, and then we'll be good to go. And I think that wasn't presented in that fashion because A, real life issues, B, lack of communication, C, misinterpretation. Right? This happens all the time in the real world, right? So I think that Seventh, do you understand now that why Epi and Medic are feeling so frustrated because they've been involved in this for so long, and they have I hate to say this, but they have much better communication between them and their alliance to communicate all the points of aggression and interaction that could lead to flare-ups. And where you guys, where IMM is at fault is either, real life issues come up, we get it, but there's not enough of a next man up mentality where if a guy goes down, the next guy doesn't exactly know what the responsibilities and the and what the general needs of the alliance are, and that's where the communication breaks down. You kind of get where this whole situation is leading to.
Yeah, Tech, I think I would agree with you, and I think probably a number of our leadership would agree with you. I think things could have been handled better on our end. And in terms of your assessment, I think it's very correct, and I think it lines up with what we are thinking is things could be worked out better on both ends. But the aggression, just in terms of for us, is there's always constant aggression from the other side. And I think one big point that wasn't addressed in the agreement and I think is basically a lot of the aggression from my assessment that continues is because of maybe one or two MBD players specifically. I would say it is Mud, because after the first conflict was resolved, there's constant trolling on GC, there's constant trolling on hitting ships. There's sticking to row, but pushing the envelope. And that's one of the reasons one of my guys crossed the line, because if you know Buck, and I think the world should be more people full of Bucks, he's the type of guy that takes the shirt off of his back to give it to you. And he does it as much as he can in a virtual world like ours. And for him to cross the line is surprising for all of us. He's never done anything like that. So from our perspective, is like, if this is happening to Buck, and this is that the extreme, and then we've seen constantly pushing,
Seventh.
even after we
Well,
had
I don't
agreement.
think Seventh that you
So-
need to really explain any of that. I think we all get and understand.
Well, but it wasn't. But it
We
wasn't
do.
Mud. It was me.
But
I'm the one that
that's a
hit Buck,
constant
not
pressure,
Mud.
and it's not addressed in the agreement at all.
But Mud
And-
is a very good retaliator, and in this war
Correct.
and
It's a
increase
war.
of aggressions, on
Yeah,
and
but we're
off,
never
whatever it
the
was,
aggressors.
whenever it was, Mud was the
Yeah, but we're
retaliator.
never the aggressors. We're saying we
Bro,
let it
I'm
ride.
sorry, but that is
No,
not the
that's
truth.
not true
That
at
is
all.
not the
That's
truth.
not true at all.
Wait, okay, all right, okay. Yeah, hold on. I don't think it matters who's the aggressor and who's not. You guys are at war and you guys want to end it. All right, so
You're both aggressors. You are. Come on, it's a war. You're both aggressors.
Yeah, but we're nicer
Correct.
aggressors.
What I'm saying is during
We're
the
more
times
polite
of
aggressors.
peace,
Okay.
during the times of peace, we only retaliated on aggression. For instance, when Chemsol hit the Franklin, we had done nothing. We talked to IMM. Hey, well, this is good. Well, it's row. Okay, if that's the way you guys are going to play it, then that's the way we'll play it too. So I'm just saying, we have not been aggressors. We have given him so many passes. I mean, who lets somebody come in and wipe out dry hit miners in their entire territory and lets them off with a, you know what? All right, you guys handle it and cool. It's cool. We'll just, we'll give you guys a pass on that. And because of that, also our team is looking at it like maybe we should have been harder on these guys because, we let them get away with this and now they're just increasing and we're talking about it with them all the time and nothing is happening. So our entire team now is getting frustrated with the escalation of aggressions from IMM. And then in return, we retaliate. And yes, we retaliate hard.
I understand. Medic, I understand what you're saying, but if we're going backwards a little bit to revisit that,
we're not revisiting it.
Specifically for the aggression, what I would say is after the first agreement. No, but after the first war was ended, we had a peace agreement in place, and we had a ceasefire for 14 years after the first agreement, and it was broken 2 times by your guys, and we brought it up to your leadership for that, and the reaction from you guys was similarly like what you say our reaction was. It was like, we had a guy hit, We had a base hit, base
that's
raid
not true at
during the
all. I'll
ceasefire.
find.
That is
Hold
true.
on.
That is very
It is
true.
true. No, it's true. But it wasn't
Yeah, it's
hot.
true.
It's true. It is true. One of my
Yeah.
guys, and I spoke to your admiral about this.
I'm
I
sorry.
nipped
I
it.
meant the reaction.
I hit. I'm the one who handled it. 7. I hit up Get It and Chem and said, listen, my guy was Stony. He's a truck driver. He's not on 6 or 7 days a week. He tapped your base. Tapped it. The minute it happened, I nipped it. He didn't even come back and finish you off. Not once. And it was done. Kem took it like I fucking killed his dog and was like, oh my God, you broke the rope. How dare you tap a base? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Perfect. You want to go down this road of how many incidents they didn't fucking stick to? I mean, come on, man.
Well,
So
that's what I'm saying.
it's being
At that
petty now.
time,
But that's pettiness.
no, it's not.
Because
I'm not trying to be
yes,
petty.
it is.
I'm trying to point out,
Guys,
Ted,
guys,
Hey guys,
7,
calm-
not you.
may
calm
I
down.
finally say something? May I finally say something?
what's up, chef?
This, he said, she said, this happened, that happened.
Correct.
The bottom
Don't matter.
line is you guys want to get along. If you're not willing to let go of the bad blood and get rid of the bad blood players, it ain't going to work. So you
Exactly.
both just need to let it go. Let it go, get rid of the bad blood, and move on. Or keep hashing it out, make no progress.
Chef, I agree with you. I think we need to let the bad blood go. I think what we can do is Medic, if you agree to it, I'm okay. I think we're all okay with just going back to our corners, and I would say everyone follow their own row with an amendment for MBD specifically. Don't hit warships, OPL or non-OPL.
How
And I
about
think
don't hit at
what
all
we-
at this point?
Leave
Because
each
of
other
all the
alone.
bad blood,
Don't
I
touch
think
each other.
both alliances should completely leave each other alone and don't hit each other for 90 days.
And that includes OPL, warships, trolling, and in this 1 hour bit, if there's an issue, that's ridiculous. In other words, if you get retaliated on, leave them alone. Work it out. 24 hours, great, but leave them alone. No trolling, no retaliation. Let the system work. You guys are both hot-headed. You both want a virtual dick swing. Let it go. Make it work. Be determined that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
And just to
That's my
point out, this is Chef saying this, guys. I'm just saying.
I'm listening. I'm listening to Chef when he speaks
And-
about
All right,
this.
so here's I was gonna say go back to the previous agreement and start it all over again with the added provision of just nobody from MBD or IMM talking GC. Just stay away for 90 days. I know it's hard for some of you. It's really easy, but it's very easy to provoke someone in GC. So just stay away and nobody hit one another. Okay.
But so here's the problem, Tech, and here's the way our entire team feels at this point. Every time we make a deal with these guys and we give them peace, they use it for a little while to mine and to bump up and to get where they need to be, and then when they're feeling froggy, at the drop of a hat they break it. And
correct. And
it's not going to fly, dude. It's not going to fly with our
though.
team.
That's
They're
not,
on the
that's not
we're
true,
on
though,
the
Medic.
third. We're on round 3 at this point.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not.
and that's-
hang on,
yes.
Epi, guys. Let me talk for a second. The whole reason we're at war number 3 is because Get Her Done confided in Epi and me and told us that there was kind of a private talk going on about not liking the agreement, and it was taken out of context. Get Her Done probably shouldn't have even told us that, because I believe that nothing would have come of it if Epi didn't find out that you guys were talking about breaking it. And I don't think that you guys probably would have broken it. I think you probably just would have raised your concerns. And I'm speaking in hypothetical now. If communication was done properly, you guys probably would have voiced your concern about, hey, we don't like having to follow MBD's row and adopting it as our own. And then we could have corrected you guys and said, no. All you have to do is just use MBD's row when in regards to MBD. And you could have communicated that to, Get Her Done could have communicated that to the Alliance. They probably, everybody would have said, oh, okay, I get it. and you guys could have talked it out, given enough time, and everything could have stayed peaceful. But just once again, the lack of communication or the bad communication has led to this another third war. So what all we're trying to get at is there's no need for war. Communication just needs to stay open and be done in a better way. And everybody needs to communicate better and not jump to conclusions. Let the past go. Go back to peace and just be done with it. Right?
I'm gonna just take a go ahead. Whoever's talking, who's that rap?
I was just going to say it's not. Well, first of all, it's not me and Epi's call. It's something that leadership would have to vote on, and it's something that we're going to have to bring to our entire membership, because that's what we did with the peace agreement, to just make sure that we weren't going to have a mutiny on our hands, cutting a deal with these guys yet again, with the expectation everybody had was that they were going to break it, which is. And just want to clarify, because I think, Handy, you were saying like it was implied that they were going to break it. I'm looking at the text message
And
here,
it was implied.
where he
They
says
hadn't broken
IM
it yet.
officers. Well, but it says IM officers have rejected the agreement and have voted against it. So at the point that it's rejected, now null and void.
Fair enough, but nothing had happened. I mean, actions speak louder than words. It's just
actions
words.
had not. Right.
But my word, and I'm gonna chime in here because I'm the one who, and I'm probably, and Andy, you've talked to me more, Rap. All you guys know me. I'm probably the most calm, cool, collected guy you have met on the server.
I agree.
Yeah, Epi's usually the one calming me down when I get heated. So
Yeah, it's usually Chef. Sorry, Epi.
Yeah, it's all good, Bubba. I hear you. So I'm gonna use Chef's words because I do agree with Chef. Trust has to be earned. And right now, I'm sorry I feel like a fool because I'm the one who negotiated, not the last one, the last three agreements. And I'm old school, bro. You guys have to prove to us, that you guys as leadership can get your shit together. And I'm being real with you. I'm not trying to be a dick. You guys need to really figure out who's going to lead you that actually has a cool, calm, and collected head. You need to figure out. Yes. And they need to be available. And if they're not available, you guys need to collectively, as a foundation, as a group, figure out who's got each other's back in regards to, okay, if so-and-so is not available, please come to this guy. Or if this guy's not available, go to this guy. But they also have to be people that are responsible and are going to give the information out properly. Because right now, to just say, oh, let's forget it all, I can't even ask that of my crew because they've done their part. They've bit their tongues. They've stayed in their corners like they're supposed to during all those many opportunities where, I'm sorry, M is broking them or decided to outvote and throw out something that we were told they all agreed on. But again, I understand it was miscommunicated. But again, nothing has changed on your end. It's the, what is it? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Right now, if you're serious about this, you need to show us that you got your shit together. And I'm sorry, I agree with Tech. If it was even an idea, it would have to start with going back to the original agreement where there has to be consequences for the actions of what had happened. I mean, I'm sorry. I can't see Inch or somebody letting somebody off who fucking dry hit them and run around and dropping tags. I'm sure you guys would go at them hard. Rap, I'm sure would go after these guys hard. It's at this point, you're asking me to just throw it away and forgive, but you're not bringing anything to the table to earn our trust. So you got to earn our trust, and you have to figure out a way to do that.
So being a trained negotiator, it's gotta be mutual. It has to be mutual. So I'm going to ask the question: what are you going to do, MBD, to get rid of your trolls or your people with bad blood? It's got to be both ways, or it's not going to work.
We don't have anybody that has broken any agreement at
Chef,
any time.
Yeah, no offense, Chef. Nobody's dropped tags on my crew and dry hits anybody.
Not talking drop tags. No. That's just one part of the piece. We're talking the whole enchilada. Part of this is trolling. Part of this is people talking smack. Oh, man, I just nailed your base. What are you guys going to do? They want them to. And guess what? You're going to have retaliation. It happened with every one of you guys that is purple with me. There's been retaliation against me. And every one of you guys has handled it. Medics handle it. It just keeps happening over and over. But I'm talking specifically between
Hasn't
IMM
happened
and
in the
MBD.
last 2 months, Chef.
What I'm talking in general,
you?
Mud being a troll.
With you.
We talked about it. I'm talking about everybody.
All right,
Yeah, but-
stay off
But let's
Mud.
rewind that.
Guys,
All I'm saying is,
stay
what
off-
is MBD and IMM going to do to correct it if it retaliation? You're going to give him an hour and then hit him again? Or are you guys going to keep...
Wait.
Is
If
IMM
you-
going to keep talking? You guys need to...
Jeff.
Because this is just going to happen
Chef.
again.
Shut
I'm
up.
done.
Jeff,
Chill
calm
out.
down. Calm down.
Chill
Calm
out.
down. All right.
Relax.
I don't care about Mud at this point. Mud is irrelevant to the conversation, right?
Correct.
This has to
Wait.
deal with.
Respectfully, that Mud is part of the equation.
Look, I get how we all feel about Mud. All right,
You're not
he's
going to get them to kick one of the founders of MBD.
he is
period.
King Troll. Okay, he's King Troll. He will be King Troll. The point is, can you avoid getting your emotions high when he trolls you? Because he will troll. He is going to troll. He's not going to stop trolling. That's who he is.
And here's the thing: he is not being malicious. Here's the thing, guys. You have to understand. He is not being malicious. Okay,
I
It is
disagree
all in
with
fun.
you.
The guy has got a heart the size. Okay, let me just tell you. Okay, when I was IDDA and our admiral was MIA, and we had one comm running the whole show, and he cut a deal with Dirt back when Hubbard tried to fool everybody into saying that they were going row, right? And everybody was like, "Dude, we're not trusting these guys. What's wrong?" But he cut a deal with Dirt and said, "Yeah, fine, we'll row with you." And Hubbard said, "Oh, by the way, not Medic. We're still going to hunt and kill Medic everywhere." And he was like, okay, whatever type of thing. I don't even know what I don't even know what he said, what he was thinking. He didn't even tell me. He said Dirt is row now, and I was against. A lot of us were against it. I'm like, you know what? Give them the benefit of the doubt. I saw them running an armada. One of their guys had a tail coming in for their ship. I went in and took out the tail. Well, one of their guys repaid me by coming over and blowing up my ship. And I'm like, God, dude, like what's going on? Like, I just took out the tail for your guy. And he's like, oh, you're KOS. I'm like, no, we're row now. He's like, no, you Medic is KOS. And I was like, bro, like I told to the comm, like, bro, what's going on here? And he was like, oh yeah, they don't like you, so they're going to keep you KOS. I'm like, wait. So they get a pass on all their dry hitting and everything for months, and because they don't like me, I don't get a pass. Like, this has to work both ways. Well, I went to Mud, and because Mob and IDDA had been allies, and I was like, if I'm going to bounce, I don't want to, I want to be able to, I want to be able to back up my buddies. I don't want to see somebody raiding them. I can't do anything about it. So I went to Mud, and Mud was like, listen, we already gave them the deal. We're giving them a shot, but that goes alliance wide. You come over here and they hit you, deal is off. We've got your back. And I was like, bro, that is awesome. Like, I appreciate that so much. And that's when I jumped and went over to Mob. And that's who Mud is. Mud has your back. He has a huge heart. He'll do anything for anybody. Nobody ever mentions anything positive he does, okay? So apparently on New Year's Eve, his trolling was pretty hard. I didn't even see it. I didn't know anything about it. Nobody knew. All of a sudden, the only time I see GC is when I log on to the game. I log on to the game, and the first thing that pops up in GC is Mud issuing a public apology on New Year's Day for something he said to KJ the Fly Guy in PM on New Year's Eve because he felt bad about it when he read it. So he is not malicious. He's not out to hurt anybody. All he's doing, he's just having fun and having a good time. It's like if you go out to a bar and everybody's drinking and hanging out, and people are going to rib each other a little bit, and if you got the one guy sitting in the corner like taking it to heart and getting butthurt over it, yeah, he's not going to have a good time. I mean, it's just friendly banter. It's not malicious at all whatsoever.
I'm going to say this. Both Mud and I, have our own little history. I shit you not. When he found out that I was sick in the hospital, he kept checking in on me to make sure I was okay.
That's what I'm talking about. That's, nobody talks about that. Nobody says anything like that. But, as soon as he makes a comment in GC, everybody jumps on, so that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, you gotta...
People that troll and are aggressive like that towards enemies and whatnot are typically really good people, and they have their alliances back.
Yeah,
and like
everybody's got them. I'm sure you guys
example-
love... Dude, I'm sure you guys love Twisted Evil. I can't look at him ship the wrong way without him blowing up my inbox. I mean, it's just the way...
Oh, I
whatever.
know. Twisted's an amazing person, There's nobody I would rather have in my corner.
So the game is a war game, right? People's emotions run high based on what you say. You don't think that Inko and Grand Admiral Key would have a beer if they met outside the game? I'm sure they would, because
Absolutely.
they seem to be very similar people. So that being said, there's a block button for a reason in this game. You can always block people you don't want to see. So that being said,
That's an extremely good point. If somebody on your team is is sensitive, then just fucking block mud.
right? So seventh, to your point, right? The reason why you're on here, and I think, I've said it before and I'll reiterate again. MBD within their alliance has really good communication about disseminating information to their players. You guys seem to be lacking in that area, or something needs to change in terms of how you disseminate information. So to my point, again, I said none of this is going to be resolved in this podcast, right? But I hope that it's been illuminating to you and IMM that MBD was working in conjunction with your admiral to get a ceasefire and an agreement in place. And my suggestion would be go back to the original agreement with an added provision of, first of all, you understand all the terms of the agreement, and then just stay off GC. And don't hit each other to let the tempers calm down. Because again, we're all emotional people. Things happen in this game. People get hit. I mean, I got hit yesterday by somebody, and I couldn't complete my dailies because of it. So what did I do? I went all, rogue ROE on them, right? Because I hit him within ROE, but I was still hiding behind it. Again, this happens. I get it, but you guys, and specifically for IMM, because MBD is a top 10 alliance, you guys need the peace more than they do, because you need to progress further. They're at a point where, being a top 10 alliance, you're not going to win against them. It's just fact. It's like, for example, Chef trying to pick a fight with Nona. Yeah, he's one person, and it's going to be harder to hunt him down, but he's not going to win. Nona is just too powerful for somebody like Chef. And that's what we're trying to communicate with you, is that you guys need to be at peace, because you need to progress. If you're constantly being hunted by MBD or another top 10 alliance, all of you are going to quit the game at some point. And that's no fun, because that means our server gets smaller. There's nobody to banter with. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I know that makes sense, and I agree with everybody in this panel on several of those points. So I don't want war. A lot of our guys do.
You want a piece of advice from me,
Sure,
Seventh?
who's this?
This is Raptor.
Hey, Raptor, how you doing?
Just PM their leadership, say, we're no longer going to hit you. We're going to be done. And say, I don't care if you keep hitting us, but make them feel like they're the ones being the bad guy. Nobody wants to hit somebody who has given up or is done.
Well,
Because nobody wants to be that bad guy.
yeah, and I don't think MBD, Epi, Medic, I don't think you guys want to be the bad guys. And I can tell you very honestly, we don't want to be the bad guys, and we don't feel we're the bad guys. So I agree with all your points here. I think there's probably a lot of miscommunication. Well, there is a lot of miscommunication here. And I think from our point is, for a smaller alliance like us, we're obviously not as organized as the top alliances in terms of internal mechanics, right? Like Techie was saying, next man up, or someone was saying that. And part of that growth is me taking on this role. So I'm always open to talk to anybody here or anybody in Galaxy on IMM matters outside of IMM. So that's a real reaction, like an awareness of that needs to happen, because get her done can't. Smaller alliance, you guys all been there. Usually the admiral takes on almost all of that, right? He puts on a lot of hats. So you guys have been all through that with the smaller alliances, and that's where we were. We're, maybe high 20s, mid 20s. It's all started. So I think those are growing pains. I think we have, for us, what keeps us going is we have a great group of guys, and we stick together no matter what. And we have some organizational things that that we're trying to address, in a very real way. That's why I'm here. So we take all those things to heart. We're not, I think what I want to impress on MBD is we're not a bunch of dicks just out for war and to troll people. That's not what we are about. That's not what we do. That's not what we've ever done. I think.
I think we can all appreciate that. We can all appreciate that, Seventh. Now you got to show them.
Yeah, so what I'm proposing is we can show restraint. We can show restraint, and what I think is nobody hit each other for 90 days. We don't hit you, you guys don't hit us, and we go back to our corners, and I think we can, and I can
You're gonna
sell to
have
my
to.
guys.
You're gonna have to. This is handy, by the way. You're gonna have to put that forward yourself. You're gonna have to, without any agreements from MBD, you're gonna have to agree with just your guys alone to not hit them, and you're gonna have to do that yourself without MBD agreeing to anything. You're gonna have to show the effort and let MBD do whatever they're gonna do in response without any promises from them. That's, I think, what it's going to take. You need to play the game how you want to play it. You need to have some humility and show some restraint, and like you just said you would, and play your game. Stop hitting them. If they hit you, let it roll off your shoulder, and it will stop eventually because they're going to see that you're putting the effort forward, but you're going to have to get all your guys on board. That would be my recommendation for you.
And you guys went through the same thing with Chef. Chef used to pound you guys hard, and now he doesn't. So you're gonna need to do the exact same thing that you did with Chef as you do for MBD.
Well, for Chef, I forget how Chef. I think Chef we were just like at a reset, right? You and Get Her Done got together and came to understanding. I think you guys got to a place where we understood each other as Alliance and Chef together. So I think that was more of a let's talk over a couple of beers and find out where each other is coming from, what perspective is, and they squashed it pretty quickly. There was
Yeah,
no
but Seventh, you got to
back and forth.
understand that that's because Chef is a force of nature and he's a one-man army, and you guys were so freaking sick of him that nobody wanted to go near him. And I can respect that. So until you feel that way about MBD, all your guys are not going to be on board. They got to all feel it, and they got to all understand that there's nothing to be gained by any aggression towards MBD, and there really isn't. So once everybody in your alliance can get that through their head, then I think peace can work. But as long as anybody in your alliance feels that there's something to be gained from going after MBD, you're not going to be able to get them to all stand down.
So basically, what he's saying is you need to get with your team. You guys need to get together and start talking, try to bring an end to this, and come up with a proposal, and then bring it up to MBD, and let MBD look it over, and then counter proposal until you guys can come and decide on something.
Right, but I think what it's going to take is for you to cease hostilities on your own, even while under attack.
Yeah, I
And,
think
until all
that's
of
a
your
good.
guys feel that way, until all of them are sick of fighting, it's going to be difficult to stop the war, because you're going to, even if you stop hostilities, you're still going to have these people that still want it, and they're going to do something else to create a flare up. So
And you're going against it.
until all your guys are on board, it's not going to work.
And Handy, just I appreciate your insight. I agree with you to a certain point. I think for us to take hits for 90 days without hitting back, that is not a sell that
But
anybody
that's
can
not
make.
going to happen.
No,
But
no,
what I
no, no.
can do to your ultimate
That's
point,
but
Handy,
do you agree with me though,
is
Seventh? Is that it's not going to happen? If none of your people are fighting them, they're going to stop. It's just human nature. They don't. Nobody wants to be a bully. And if all your guys are behaving, they're going to stop. It's just natural.
well, our impression is that's Epi and Medic. I never talked to you guys before, and a lot of guys haven't communicated with you guys, but our impression, just because our main form of communication is just chat, is that's what's happening. That MBD is bullying IMM, and it progresses from there, and that's the lens that we're seeing everything through, actions and chat. So getting to know you guys and talking a little bit, I see more of your side of it. But for the majority, that's the perspective we have, is MBD is bullying IMM and we're standing up to it. So that's the perspective that we have. So that's where we're coming from, Handy. And we are
And
very
I
much
I
against
totally
that.
get it. Even NONA, the most powerful alliance, even we feel like we get picked on from time to time. It's not rational. I'm not saying it is,
We all know
but
we quit raid you guys.
it's
Well,
not
we broke up our
rational. But
hives, right? We broke up our hives, so we don't
you
have that
know,
target.
it's just how people are, right? I mean, it's just how it works. So I would encourage you to get all of your, as soon as this podcast is released, get all of your people to listen to it, and hopefully they can have a much better understanding and a new insight into how everybody feels and how everybody is approaching this conflict.
We've been there. I mean, we had, not us. Okay, MBD. We don't hive. We never we never have. But we had AZH and MPD, our sister alliance, and AZH is as an ally, and MPD is a sister alliance. They used to hive, and they had 3 hives at the back end of the system, so you could see people coming in. But it was the same. It's the same exact issue. Hives will attract raiders because they know where you are, and it's multiple targets in one location. And bro, I was there every single day with a Centurion and a Saladin fighting off Chemo, fighting off Kevin, Bulldog, Nash, all these big guys from Dark. I mean, dude, they would come in and hammer us. And dude, I mean, it's just the nature of the game. It's not being picked on. It's not bullying. You have an off button. It's called a bubble. You know what I mean? Just, it's shield or share. You don't have that anywhere else in the game. You know what I mean? That's why you look at things like armadas. People spend money on armadas. They're protected because you don't want to. You don't want to mess with somebody's money. If there was a bubble for an armada, it wouldn't be protected because you have an off button that prevents that from happening. So I mean, dude, we've been there, and it's not bullying. It's just a part of the game. I don't know. How else to try to convey that to you guys.
The biggest thing I want you to understand, I think, for Seventh is just Seventh. Now you've heard it, you've talked to it, you heard it from Handy, who's not MBD. Okay, he's NONA, who negotiated this whole thing with your admiral with me. You know the truth. You know that we were never told about this 14-day thing. You know there was a failure on Get It side. You know that, and you know that we didn't make this agreement and say screw you, take it. So now that you have this information, you have this insight. What are you going to do with it? And that's what's gonna bring him out of this, is that the communication from the get-go from you is gonna make it come to fruition.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys continue talking. I hope Epic is gonna.
That was awesome. His phone was buzzing and he muted himself. That was great.
Sorry about that. I got technical issues. So yeah, Epic. So like I was before, I was cut off by myself. I hope you can. You and I can keep in communication. Because I think what nobody wants is for this. It's gone on long enough. I don't want it to calcify. So it's just a matter of course, because I see that happening on our side as well. So
Well, I think it already kind of has. I mean, there's so much bad blood back and forth now that it's going to be difficult.
I mean, you're going on 4 months, right?
what I would say to let you guys know, MBD specifically, and Handy, I appreciate your help, and for you to know, Handy, is that our guys are pretty reasonable. Like we're not a bunch of stoneheads knocking our heads against the wall for no reason. So
Well, I believe that. Otherwise, none of us would even talk to you.
Right, exactly. So
You also want to be here
we
if you
don't
didn't
have
want
to
to
worry
change.
about us trying to be like at war for forever. Like we really, like, I hope you guys really come away with is we're not trying to be aggressive. We're not trying to fight for no reason. We felt like we were being bullied and we were standing up to something. And that came about from your perspective as miscommunication. And I think honestly, I can admit that, there's miscommunication as well. So I think to be honest, my perspective is everyone's a friend until they're not. And I think for ST, STFSFC in general, if people can sit down and have a beer, like, 99% of the things wouldn't flare up and couldn't happen, but you can't do that in a world. So I think a place like where Techman's podcast happens is really a great way for people to get together and talk about stuff. So just to clear stuff up like this very easily, I think phone calls can clear up most things very quickly. So what I can do with what we talked about is I can go back to my leadership. I can talk to them about all this stuff. We'll come back to you guys with what we think. But yeah, like bad blood or not, I don't think you have to worry about us coming to hit or feeling like they have to break ranks and continue fighting on their own. I think we can handle that internally. And if we can't, we'll let you know and be like, this guy can't let it go. And we'll figure it out how this is going to work out.
And Seventh, I appreciate that. And just so you know, and again, I don't know if this was conveyed to you, and then I'm going to have to wrap it up here because I do have to get back to the family. But we told Get It, and made this very clear with Handy, and even in the conversations, that if you had guys, just like if it was the other way around, because that's how we do, and we've kicked people for that. If you guys have guys who just can't get with the program or can't let it go or whatever it is, and you got to boot them, we would have your back if they came to hate you in retaliation because you're doing the right thing. Do you understand? So I want you to understand that. It's very important that if these guys just aren't going to follow, if they're not going to follow what you guys decide, you got these one or two guys who are just like, screw it, I'm going to drop, like I told Get It, when Daniel left, if he started dry hitting us, we were not going to hold him accountable for that because it's not fair. Now, I can't speak for all alliances here because, NONA will. So if you think we're bad,
NONA will after a while if they keep going back.
Correct. No, I know. So you know what I'm saying?
What I'll speak to specifically to Dan is, I don't think you have to worry about Dan because what I can speak for Dan is he's a highly, highly principled person. If he feels like he's been wronged, he goes after it. But if everything's worked out, he sticks to the letter. Like, he's one of those dudes who's like laser focused. Like, he's like, if they violate us or he feels we're being pushed
and
around,
maybe if he's an influential person in your alliance, then maybe you bring him in on these conversations. So if he's an extremely active member of your alliance and he's always involved, and you feel like he's not on the right page, then you should bring him into the conversation with Epi so that he can voice his concerns. So it's all about knowing who the important people in your alliance are, who's stirring up the shit, who's carrying the lead torch, and you need to bring them into the conversation so that they can understand where everybody's at. You know what I mean?
So I think.
Okay.
Go ahead, Epi. Then I'll wrap
last
up.
thing, and then I'm out of here. I'm sorry to keep you guys there. Is first thing you just got to get all your guys on board with whatever you decide and convey that, and all be on the same page. That's step one. If you can do that, you're already going to do a better job than Get It did. And again, nothing. I would say this to him if he was on the call or not. Like I said, I respect him. He's a good dude. I understand he's got stuff going on, but that's where it starts, and that communication's got to be crystal clear for everybody, and that's what's gonna change the outlook. Because, like I said, as of right now, like Medic had said, my guys are just like, like I said, I've exhausted. I'm tired of it. It's just what it is. I'm just gonna keep hitting. But if you can show us that you guys are actually on the same front, the same united front, and you guys are on the same page. Obviously my door is always open. But just like I've spoken to Handy and these guys, all these guys are great guys. You can always talk to me. I'll never, lock you out and say, screw you, go home. So that's where it starts, and that's where it will end. All right. Gentlemen,
All right, so
Keep talking.
all right,
you very
thank you,
much.
Epi. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us today. I do want to say you're all invited back to next week to see how things are progressing, see if they've gotten better or worse or indifferent, and maybe we can go from there. Medic brought up Kevin, Bulldog, and Chemo. I just want to say to those guys that Handy's base is still available. He has not rescinded his open challenge.
Still unshielded. Still
Oh, and
unshielded.
Zero Fox. That guy used to kick my ass too. Still does. Oh, that was
Yeah.
fun times back when we had that
Aw,
hive.
Fox.
Yeah, and seventh. So I don't know, man. If I could like an analogy, if you could, kind of the way I look at it, and this is the way I looked at it. You know, when Dark was kicking the shit out of us, raiding MPD and AZH. It's like a seed 2 team going against an 8 seed team, and you know, do you get mad at them because they kicked your ass? No. After the game is over, you all shake hands and say good job. And I became friends with a lot of Dark through those raids, through those multiple raids, because I'd reach out to him after, be like, hey man, good job. Hey man, that miner is huge. How much cargo can you hold in that? Oh bro, nice crew on that ship. Well, oh, you really caught me over there. I didn't even see you coming. I mean, just, it's a game. Just be friendly with everybody. Realize that that's all it is, and we're all in it together. And everybody can be friends. Just because you're fighting or raiding somebody doesn't mean that they're trying to bully you or push you around. There's no reason to just not be friends. Hell, if me and Chef can be friends, anybody in this game can be friends.
Yeah, and Medic, I hope we have a rapport and we become friends, because I think you guys, you specifically, you talking to me, we see a lot of things the same way. And just to be honest, and just to put it out there, my guys, we don't think we're losing anything in this fight, but I think we think similar things to you guys, and where don't take it personal on the raids, shield or share. And what we have a real problem with is just maybe one or two of your guys going that extra after the whistle. And if we feel that's going to be taken care of or somehow mitigated, the way I joined IMM is very similar to your story. I was in a really small alliance, and we were getting raided, and we just had combos and be like, hey man, that was cool defense, or we appreciate what you're doing there. And then conversations grew into respect, and we joined as a small alliance into IMM. And I gotta say, those IMM guys are cool too. So I think those kinds of things are one of the cool things about chat. That's how I ran into Nona and Nidoid, and that's how I got connected to Handy for all of this. It's those funny chat connections. And I think in my mind, the majority of people are real cool. It's just these things come up. We're all people, and we're fighting because we believe something. And if that's not true, there's no reason for us to fight from our side. So I appreciate that, Medic, and hopefully this is a way to maybe our story can be that kind of story too.
Yeah, man. Yeah, hopefully, with any luck.
I appreciate everybody for coming on. Again, I'll say again, you guys are welcome back next week to see how things are going, just to check in, and
Even Chef.
Even Chef's always available, man. He speaks, even though I appreciate his play style. I mean, his desire for peace is greater than most people's. So it's kind of uncanny.
Except now, you said that Nona can beat me, so I'm gonna hit Nona until Nona hits Dark.
Oh, great. Thanks, Tag.
Yeah, no problem. I wonder if he's going to follow through with that.
Yeah,
All right,
but you're
guys.
Chef's boss, right, Handy? So all you have to do is tell him no.
Yeah, right. No, Chef, no, down, stop.
Don't make me get the spray bottle.
I appreciate everybody for stopping by. And, this has been Trek Talk with Tech and Kirk. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Subscribe, leave a comment, helps with the algorithm. And we'll see you guys next time.